Hey guys, welcome to week 5. Uh, Fortunately, this week I get to do my favorite thing with fantasy football. I get to talk about my own team. This week, the top score and the biggest blowout were both in the same game. That was myself taking down goes Teddy Lee. Beat him this week, 159.88 to 89.88. Surprisingly, an exact margin of 70 points, which was somewhat impressive. I got a great week from my studs this week. I had the third highest quarterback score put up this week from Alex Smith. He had 30 points this week. And then I had the 3 top offensive players that weren't quarterbacks, with Leonard Fournette putting up 34 points, Melvin Gordon putting up 34 points, and A.J. Green putting up 29 points. The Teddies. A different week, and it's the same story. Every time you come up in some sort of a game feature, we get to talk about how awesome Aaron Rodgers is. I'm sure you love hearing that. Rodgers put up 24 points in the win in Dallas this week. His favorite target in that game also put up a nice game because he's also for the Teddies. Devontae Adams added 22 points with a couple touchdown passes from Rodgers, including the game winner right at the end of the game. In terms of things that could have maybe gone better, he only got 2 points from Jared Cook, his starting tight end. It beat my tight end, which was a 0, which is Evan Ingram, who somehow managed to get 0 points in a game where basically every New York Giant wide receiver died. Rip Odell Beckham Jr. We'll see how Jared Cook does in the future. Hopefully he puts up better weeks, or the Teddies decide to swap him out for somebody else. The matchup could have been a lot worse this week had I played Jared McKinnon instead of trading him away. McKinnon put up the 4th highest non-QB score as well, so I would have had the top 4 non-QB scoring offensive players this week. So it is what it is, I guess. This week's closest game was Saved by the Bell, Brandon taking down Dak Deuce Drew. That game was 96.5 to 91.6, a 4.4 margin of victory. Brandon's Bells won this one by having a better overall team performance despite not really having any studs have monster games. He had 5 players score between 18 and 11 points. That's how his team managed to get the win, just a good old-fashioned team grind. Leading the charge this week was Chris Hogan, 17.5 points, and Le'Veon Bell with another 14 points. For the Deuce, he had the better stud overall in this matchup, with the Deuce's namesake, Dak Prescott, putting up 30 points in the loss. Another week, and it's another poor showing for Amari Cooper, adding only 1.3 points in his flex spot. As the new owner of Jerick McKinnon, he could have really used that 26 points that McKinnon put up while sitting on the bench. With the win, Brandon continues his all-time domination versus Drew, moving to an overall 4-0 record versus Drew. There's a cock on my beer. This is terrible, by the way. Ricky bought it from me from Ohio. Moeller's Brew Barn. Ugh, not good. In other games this week, T-Boeing 747 Nick took down Awesome Possum's Pope 1.0, 92 to 81. With the win, T-Boeing moves to an impressive 8-2 all-time record versus Pope 1.0. John Bobbitt, Chris beat I Win Because Y'all Drafted Josh, 101 to 94. This was the big 1 versus 12 matchup. Chris took down a team this week that he normally has problems beating. This win managed to get his teams back to a 4-4 tie in the all-time regular season standings. The second coming, Pope 2.0 defeated Derek's Sensitive Nipples, 91 to 84. Despite the win and 2 championships, Pope's 2.0 continues to have a losing record in the regular season, currently rocking an all-time record of, I forgot to look that up, crap, moving to an all-time record of 21 and 23 in the regular season. Pray for Mojo Jason beat Gridiron Self out. Tyler Eifert is broken. He's out for this week if anybody has him on the roster still. I have him in another league. Pray for Mojo Jason beat Gridiron Junkie Andy in a high-scoring affair, 130 to 115 points. Jason moves to an all-time 7-2 record versus Andy's Junkies. You can thank league stat nerd Nick for coming up all these stats and tracking all this during the season. He's going to continue providing this information for me as the season goes on, and I'll try to add in any fun stuff that I think might be relevant. Last week on the waiver wire, we had so much action that somebody was bound to have success, and there was also bound to be failure. Leading the charge with the failure department was Kaimi Fairbairn, adding only 2 points for Pulp 1.0 in the kicker spots. Definitely not exactly what you're looking for from a kicker off the waiver wire. Deshaun Watson had a huge game this week, getting picked up off the waiver wire by Pope 2.0. Unfortunately, the 35 points he put up were sitting on his bench. He decided to play Ben Roethlisberger and his 5-interception, 5.5 day instead. Ouch. For Chris this week, he picked up Packers rookie running back Aaron Jones. He got a nice week this week in the starting lineup for Chris, adding 23 points off the waiver wire. And finally, last week's man of the week, Latavius Murray, in which 7 players tried to grab him, and the cost of $42 to do so only added 5 points in the starting lineup for Nick, while being outplayed by the aforementioned Jerick McKinnon. A lot of action on the waiver wire this week. We had a $40 claim for Adrian Peterson by Brandon, beating out 2 other players. We also had 4 players trying to grab Baltimore, who ended up going to Nick for a $5 bid. His $5 bid outdid my $5 bid due to his current position ranked lower in the seeds. Guest appearance by the Steve Cat. Hey, buddy. You look at the camera? The camera. Meow. Meow. Not interested. Finally, this week's matchups, we have a battle of top teams this week. First place takes on third place, which would be Chris sitting in first and myself in third. We have the question that's been going on for 5 weeks now. Will Josh ever win, or is he on pace to match the 0-16 Lions? He's only 2 losses away from tying the all-time record for the most losses in a row in this league, which is 7. There's several players tied at that number. I won't name any names until we get to maybe 7 if we get there. He's got a tough matchup this week going up against current second-place team Brandon. I'm rooting for you, buddy. And there are 3 other matchups this week that pit players that are sitting right next to each other in the standings, like 5, 6, 9, 10, something like that. There's likely to be a lot of movement this week between the 3-2 teams and the 2-2-3 games as well. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see you next week.